What's up? This is Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff. UNLV beat Grand Canyon on Saturday, but still had an embarrassing week. Plus, the media's completely abandoned Josh Pastner. And we'll get into the Mountain West as they are adding North Dakota State. Has anybody ever been excited to go to North Dakota? So we have to start today's show with an update on why there wasn't a show on Monday. I recorded an entire show for Monday. And my microphone broke and didn't record any of the audio. So now I've got to ship off this expensive microphone because it should be under warranty and I should be getting it either fixed or replaced, hopefully, but who knows how long that is going to take, which means I'm not using an actual mic right now. Hopefully some audio editing skills will make it to where you don't notice. Also, the space bar on my computer is broken. I'm having to use a Bluetooth keyboard in the meantime. It was not a good weekend for equipment that I use to try to make this show. So we didn't have a show on Monday because lots of things decided to just not work over the weekend. We have a show today. And I want to start with UNLV basketball because a lot happened since the last time I did a show. On the court, off the court, in the stands, there's a lot to get to. I want to start with UNLV at the end of games, though, because they beat Grand Canyon 80-78, a 2-point win, right? In Grand Canyon, that's a top 20 defensive team in the country, or was. UNLV had the fourth best game by points per possession against Grand Canyon this year. They're also one of four teams to put up 80 points against Grand Canyon. It was a genuinely impressive win. But it was a 2-point win despite UNLV winning or leading by 15 points with 2.5 minutes to go. And if you look at the last two games for UNLV, they led Fresno State by 8 with 2.5 to go, and then Grand Canyon by 15 with 2.5 to go. They lost to Fresno State by 2. They beat Grand Canyon by 2. Fortunately for UNLV, Grand Canyon never had the ball while down one possession in that game, or at least at the end of that game. So I want to try to figure out what's wrong, cover sort of everything that's gone wrong for UNLV at the end of these two games, because there's a lot of things, right? To blow both of those games, or almost blow both of those games, lots of things have to go wrong. There is not any single thing to point to. And the first thing I want to highlight is that Grand Canyon, on their last 9 possessions of the game, scored 19 points. That is insane. Yes, UNLV's defense can be better. We'll talk about it in just a second. But 19 points on 9 possessions is ridiculous. Grand Canyon made every single shot from the floor and from the free throw line, right? An element of that Grand Canyon game was the opponent was perfect. Fresno State, not quite perfect, but Fresno State scored 18 points on their last 11 possessions. They also made every single shot they took from the floor, except one, and they made all but, I think it was 2 of their free throws. They did miss some free throws in there. So part of the end of these games is just simply due to the opponent making everything, right? And I'm not going to absolve UNLV from blame. We'll get to it. But some of that is bad luck. When your opponent goes on a stretch of 9, 10, 11 possessions and they just don't miss a shot, yeah, there's not a lot you can do all of the time when that happens. Now, the biggest issue for UNLV defensively is the fouls. The amount of times they're fouling while leading in the final 2 minutes of these games is absurd. And UNLV's had foul trouble the entire season. This has been a team issue. It's blown up on them in the last 2 games, especially with guys fouling out. But that's the biggest problem defensively is they're fouling. Guys are going to make shots, right? Like it happens, but you don't need to send teams to the free throw line over and over and over. And so that's been the biggest issue, is that UNLV has not been able to defend anything without fouling at the end of these games. I don't know how much better to expect them to get on that, because that's just who they are as a team. They foul a lot. That's what this team does. So that's probably going to be an issue going forward. In theory, you would like to say, hey, they're not actually going to foul everybody or that many times every possession down the stretch. Now, the other side of the ball, because to turn a 15-point lead into a 2-point lead and to turn an 8-point lead into a 2-point loss, it takes a collaborative effort of blowing the game. UNLV in these last two games combined have had 17 possessions on offense. 6 of those possessions have been turnovers. That is 35% of UNLV's possessions to close these games out, ending in turnovers. The national average is 17%. So UNLV is doubling up the national average in turnover rate at the end of these games. And what's funny is on offense, that's really the only problem. UNLV has made 16 of 18 free throws on these 17 possessions. The free throw shooting is great, right? They've only attempted 2 field goal attempts. They missed both of them, but they've only attempted 2 shots because everything else has been a foul or a turnover. So the real problem on offense is just the turnovers. And if you look at it, the inbounding against the press has been bad, right? The actual inbounder has struggled, but they've also not done a good enough job of getting open. The players have not broken free to catch an easy pass and then have space to dribble or pass the ball up the floor. They're basically getting bullied in these scenarios to where they can't inbound it, or if they do inbound it, it's into a double team, right? That's been a big problem. But part of this issue, offensively and a little bit defensively, it's hard for me to say whether or not this is UNLV's fault or not, or just really bad luck. But part of the problem is that to close out these last 2 games, UNLV has had players on the floor that Josh Pastner doesn't want to use. And if you look at the end of the Grand Canyon game, they did have Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, who's their best ball handler, and Isaac Williamson, who's their second best ball handler. But after that, it was Al Green, Jacob Benarby, and Naz Cunningham. Those are 3 players that have all been benched at different points this season because Pastner doesn't trust them, doesn't want to use them for extended minutes. To be fair, Benarby was very good against Grand Canyon. He sort of earned that late playing time. But ultimately, 3 of the 5 guys on the floor are not guys you would want on the floor to close out a game. The Fresno State game was even worse. Howie Fleming was on the court. That's his starter, usual starter. And then it was Al Green, Naz Cunningham, Jalen Cunningham, and Jacob Benarby. So that was 4 guys that Josh Pastner does not want on the floor. Frankly, those are bad lineups. And what's caused it? The injuries. Miles Che and Laji Dembele have been out the whole season, but now they're dealing with no Tyron Jones and no Howie Fleming. And then the absurd amount of foul outs. You have 5 guys foul out of the game against Fresno State. It's the only 5 guys they had left were in the game. They had 2 more foul out of the game against Grand Canyon. So the absurd amount of foul outs they've had has led to them just not having the players they want, plus the injuries, have hurt. And I think one of the best counter examples is earlier in the year when they beat Memphis. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn fouled out of that game while Memphis was just full court pressing UNLV, trying to get back into that game. But UNLV did not blow that game. And the biggest reason why was Kamani Hamilton. Kamani Hamilton was the best player UNLV had to break the press, and he did a pretty good job of it, right? He actually was solid at it, and that's why they closed that game out. Well, Kamani Hamilton has been fouled out of these last 2 games. He has not been on the floor to end these last games because of the fouls. And so, yes, that is the fault of UNLV, right? Their players are fouling too much and they're not able to play. Obviously, that's the fault of UNLV. There's no one else to blame for that. But if we're just looking at why are they blowing these games late, it's an unfortunate mix of all these things combined with, our guys aren't on the floor. And so, yes, UNLV inbounders should not just be chucking the ball down the floor. Yes, they need to defend without fouling. Yes, they need to stop turning the ball over as much. But a lot of this, I think, is just they've got bad lineups on the floor. Just the guys closing the games out are just not all good players. And so you're going to have these moments where it's okay, they can't get the ball inbounds. All of it happening back to back to back to back is problematic and probably won't happen again. But it's an issue. So I'd say this, if UNLV's leading again with 2.5 minutes to go, right, I would expect them to hold on and win the game. Unless everybody's fouled out, right? If you told me that they're going to have Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, Isaac Williamson, Howie Fleming, Kamani Hamilton, maybe Tyron Jones as he comes back. Like, if you told me those 5 are going to be on the court to close the game out, I'd tell you they're going to win. They're not going to turn it over on 35% of their possessions. But if Kamani Hamilton's fouled out, if Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn is fouled out, if we're talking about Jalen Cunningham playing, then they might blow it because those are just not good enough lineups to put on the floor. So I think that's the biggest issue that UNLV is running into in these late game scenarios is it's just not good lineups. They're just not good overall players that are in the game to finish that one off. Also, quick complaint for you. I record UNLV's games. I have DirecTV. I record UNLV's games, and when you record on DirecTV, right, it records the length of the game as the TV guide has it, which for college basketball is always 2 hours. I always add 30 minutes on. I do a 30-minute extension to the recording so that I know I'll get the end of the game. The last 2 games UNLV has played, I do not have the end of them on my recordings because they've gone past 2.5 hours. The Fresno State game was 3, which ridiculous, right? But these games have taken so long that I can't actually go back and watch the last 2.5 minutes of these games because the recording ends because the games are taking forever. So I didn't actually get to go back and like break down play by play. I had to do it more with the box score and then off my memory, which I feel like is pretty good for these 2 games because of how bad it was. But yeah, let's quicken these games up, or maybe I got to make my recordings 4 hours long just in case something happens. Also, I think very important to point out from the win over Grand Canyon, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn was awesome. He had 29 points in the game. It was 20 at halftime. He was so good in this game, and he's gotten much better at this, at coming off of ball screens, getting into the paint, and sort of manipulating the defense. Grand Canyon played a drop coverage, which just means the guy who's guarding the screener, which is normally your center or your power forward, just stays back in the paint. He doesn't come up all the way to where the ball screen is happening. And so what that coverage usually does is you take away the 3-pointer by the guard because the guy guarding him goes over the top of the screen, and you take away layups because the other guy is just hanging out in the paint by the rim. But what it creates is this pocket of space about from the 3-point line to 5 or 6 feet away from the rim where there's no real defender there. And what Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn did really well was come off that screen, keep the defender behind him, right? The defender's going over the top of the screen. He's trailing Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. Keep him behind and then manipulate that big man to not get your shot blocked. And he did a really good job of getting off shots from that 5 to 8 foot range, which is not as good as a layup, right? That's not the best shot you can get, but if they're relatively open, it's a solid shot. It's a decent shot. And Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn did a really good job at that. And he's been better coming off of ball screens and sort of finding space to score as the season has gone on. He's now scored 20-plus points in 5 of the last 6 games. In the last 3, it's 26, 28, and 29, right? He's been really, really good recently. He's not the true point guard. There's still a lot there as far as passing and vision and everything, but he's gotten much better at being this scoring point guard coming off of those ball screens. So I thought that was important in that game and important to point out how much better he's been. Also, Howie Fleming didn't play in this game. And Josh Pastner said that Howie Fleming suffered an ankle injury in the game against Fresno State and then did not practice for 2 days heading into the Grand Canyon game and then didn't play against Grand Canyon. Here's the problem for UNLV. UNLV did not report that injury. The Mountain West has injury reporting now, and you're supposed to say, hey, these guys are out and these guys are questionable. Howie Fleming was not on UNLV's injury report the night before the game, even though Pastner told us after the fact that Howie Fleming had not practiced the previous 2 days. He then showed up on the injury report the day of the game to say that he was out. That would seem to break the rules the Mountain West has in place for their injury reporting. Now, I couldn't find anywhere online that says what the punishment is. I would guess it's a fine, maybe even the first time it's just a warning. But it would appear as though UNLV broke injury reporting rules. Also, the last thing from this game, really the most noteworthy thing from the game, Grand Canyon brought 500 students to the game, bussed them in apparently, and I just want to say, it felt like a real college basketball game, right? The Grand Canyon fans were loud, cheered most of the game, and what made it good is that the UNLV fans responded. Like, genuinely was a loud UNLV crowd. There was emotion, there was energy, there was response to the game on the court. And also this, UNLV fans, generally speaking, do a good job of responding positively to when UNLV plays well, but this was even more so. And it felt like a real college basketball game. There's so many times over the past decade where games at UNLV have not felt like fun. It hasn't felt like, oh, I'm watching a sporting event, a sport that I enjoy that's supposed to be fun. There's been a lot of games that just felt like, all right, we're here. We're here to watch UNLV, but even when they win sometimes. And what we got from the Grand Canyon fans and then the UNLV fans in response was an actual atmosphere. And like, Drake Blauhorn, one of the best parts about him, one of the things that makes him fun to watch is that he plays with emotion and he plays to the crowd, right? It's really fun to watch. And at home, most of the time, there hasn't been much to play to for Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. There was in this game. So I loved it. It's not great for UNLV, right? It's a little embarrassing to have the opposing fans show up with 500 students when your student section is like 5 people, right? So it's embarrassing. It's not good, but I enjoyed it. And if they can help create better atmospheres at the games I'm covering, I am all in on Grand Canyon being a part of the Mountain West. It was phenomenal. Last thing for you on UNLV basketball. You take journalism classes in college, get a journalism degree. One of like the first things you sort of get taught is not to make yourself part of the story. Well, I'm about to do that. Typically the day before a game, Josh Pastner has media availability. And this happened on Friday, the day before the Grand Canyon game. And something happened that I've never experienced before. I was the only media member that showed up. The only one. Am I even a media member? I don't even have a real job, right? But I was the only one there. No one from any of the television stations, no one from any newspaper, no one from any radio station. No one from no partners of UNLV athletics. Just me, the guy who got fired and started his own podcast. Now, it's not great for UNLV fans. Like, I know a lot of people don't like the media, and I know people don't like me. It's fine. But it's bad if your favorite team loses media coverage. It's bad if I'm the only one that's there, because that is how you learn things about your team, right? I view it, I think, 2 generalized categories as to you consuming media about your favorite team. I think there's 2 reasons. Either one, it's to learn something new, right? It's to learn about who's injured, who's available, who are they recruiting, who are they adding? If it's a pro team, who are they trading for or interested in trading for? Like, it's to learn something new. And then the other category is just to hear or be engaged with conversations and opinions about your favorite team, right? Like, that's part of what makes sports great, is talking about your favorite teams. And so if nobody's showing up for the press conferences, you start to lose both of those things, right? And so if you don't have, even if you don't like me, if you don't have that, it's not good that I'm the only one that showed up. It's not good that nobody else thought it was worth coming to Josh Pastner's press conference the day before they played a game. Now, one thing I want to point out, and this is where I make myself part of the story for sure. I had a roughly 14-month ban from talking about UNLV when I was over at ESPN Las Vegas. I know a lot of you noticed. Someday I might tell that entire story. Not today, though. But prior to that ban, I would say, maybe you disagree here, but I would say that for the decade before, I covered UNLV as much as anyone else in the media. Right? Since I've been here, I think like Mike Grimala was at the Sun the entire time until this past year when they eliminated like their entire newsroom. So they don't even cover UNLV anymore except for occasional Ray Brewer story. But Mike Grimala was the UNLV beat writer for over a decade. He covered the team all the time, right? I think Steve Cofield covers them all the time on the radio. Obviously, he now works for Learfield, which is effectively, a UNLV partner, a UNLV type job. But I think Steve Cofield has done a lot. And there's me. I think I have covered them way more. I put it this way. I have covered UNLV athletics more than their success deserves in this city, right? There's no reason to talk about UNLV basketball as much as the Golden Knights or the Raiders. They don't have as big of a fan base. They don't have success. I know the Raiders don't either. They don't have success, right? Like, it's not there. UNLV football now has had some success, but prior to these last 3 years, like, they were horrendous. So, like, I feel like I have given them tons of coverage. And you know what people at UNLV tried to do multiple times? Get me fired. Multiple times. Now, I did end up getting fired. It was for budgetary reasons. But if the people at UNLV had had their way, I would have been fired long before last November. Long before. And I know I'm someone that goes negative more than positive. I'm fully aware. I understand why people at UNLV don't like a lot of the things that I have said about UNLV. But what I've always found funny is that the people at UNLV that wanted to get me fired failed to realize I was covering and talking about teams that very few people gave a shit about in the media. Like, they don't understand that from a media coverage standpoint, how far behind the Raiders and the Golden Knights they have fallen. And it's never been highlighted more how far they've fallen than a Josh Pastner press conference where the only guy that shows up to cover them is someone that's unemployed. Right? This is a program that won a national championship. And now they're getting one person to show up to a press conference to ask the head coach questions before a game, right? Like, they need to understand that's how far they've fallen. And yeah, I might say things and point out things that are negative more than anybody else that talks about UNLV athletics. But you know what? I'm talking about UNLV athletics. And you can't say that for a lot of media outlets in this town because they're not good enough to dictate that, right? If you had to choose right now between covering something for the Golden Knights, something for the UNLV basketball, it's an easy choice to go to the Golden Knights. It's an easy choice to go to the Raiders. Those are more important and going to draw more attention from your listeners, your viewers, your audience, right? It's just going to happen. But I'm here, and I'm talking about UNLV until they ban me. 2 shout-outs I want to give. First, this is to George. Thank you, George, for listening to the podcast. George stopped me at Thomas and Mac on Saturday, said he loved listening to the show. So, George, thank you so much. And if you see me and stop and say hello to me, it'll be great. Unless you hate me, then that'd be a little awkward. But thank you, George. Also, to Lucas. Lucas sent me an email after the game against Grand Canyon. And first, some context here. UNLV does a sort of giveaway thing with a parachute drop. They have a bunch of these tiny little parachutes up in the rafters, and then they release them over the crowd. And I'll be honest, I don't actually know what the prizes are. I can't even, there's a sponsor related to it that I can't remember. But you win something. I don't know, a gift card, whatever it is. You win something in this parachute drop. So Lucas sent me an email. And Lucas's email said, I have beef with the parachute drop. If you have a section entirely occupied by opposing team students, you skip that area with the parachutes, right? I'll admit my take may be a little get off my lawn, but I'll stand by it. And you're damn right you stand by that, Lucas. I am 100% on board with this. If you've got a crowd or one section that is just the entirety of the other team's fans, do not give them the free giveaways. Why would you do that? So yes, you should have beef with the parachute drop, Lucas. And that's one of the greatest sentences ever written. I have beef with the parachute drop. Hell yeah, Lucas. So do not think you are get off my lawn. That is 100% reasonable to be mad that some Grand Canyon fans got to participate in the parachute drop.
Battle Blast, been serving Las Vegas since June 2012 with the very best in family entertainment. We are proud to provide the best facility, equipment, and service possible. Strap on laser tag vests, step into the 5,600 square foot 2-story arena designed to look like a worn, torn city street. An exciting atmosphere filled with exhilarating music, blacklight effects, and fog. Battle Blast also features a viewing deck for those not playing can watch players vest up and catch a view of the action going on in the arena. In between games, check out our arcade and prize center and enjoy tasty treats from our snack bar. Birthday parties, sports teams, group outings, and corporate events. Battle Blast does it all. We want to make your Battle Blast experience so good you'll want to return again and again. Battle Blast is the ultimate destination for family fun and friendly competition.
Technically Correct is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. Battle Blast is the perfect spot for your next event, whether it's a kid's birthday party, your birthday party, or a corporate event. head to Battle Blast Las Vegas. Get your friends, get your family, get your coworkers together and see who is better at laser tag. Plus, they've got an arcade and prizes. There is more than just laser tag. Visit Battle Blast Las Vegas. They're located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue. Your next stop for fun in Vegas. The Raiders officially named Klint Kubiak their head coach one day after the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. He's going to have his introductory press conference on Tuesday. Everybody's going to be excited after the introductory press conference, is what happens all the time. What I would advise you to do, because it's very fun, go back and find the Raiders tweet from January of last year when they, either one, because I looked at both of them, introduced Pete Carroll as head coach, saying, we've hired Pete Carroll, or, hey, here's the press conference where you can watch it. Both of those are filled with replies of people saying how great it is that Pete Carroll is going to be the head coach. Obviously, it worked out horrific for the Raiders. Well, not actually, it worked out great. They got the number 1 pick in the draft, but Pete Carroll was not any good at this. So, yes, be excited, whatever, about Klint Kubiak. Just understand that every time a coach is hired, people are pumped after the press conference. Also, though, one thing I want to point out from the Super Bowl, because I saw this from Scott Spratt on Blue Sky, Devon Witherspoon, one of the Seahawks' best defensive players in that game, he said that the Patriots' offensive line had a tell based on the way they lined up, and those were giving away the Patriots' run game. And apparently Mike McDonald, the head coach of the Seahawks, picked it up, and the Patriots were able to just shut down so much of the Seahawks were able to shut down so much of the Patriots' offensive game plan because of the way the offensive linemen were lining up, which is horrendous, right? Like, if that's 100% true, I know Charles McDonald on Blue Sky posted a video showing some of the linemen and how they were lined up, giving things away. That's unbelievably bad. Like, that sounds like, oh, yeah, our offensive line coach just didn't teach that. Like, it just seems horrendous. For a team that made it to the Super Bowl, you're telling me they had tells from their linemen lining up about what the play was going to be? Just wild that would be the case in the Super Bowl of all times of the year. Also, UNLV hosts San Jose State tonight. UNLV beat San Jose State once this year. Ken Pom gives UNLV an 81% chance to win this game. San Jose State has just one win in Mountain West play, and it was against Air Force, who's 0-12. There is a clear bottom 2 in the Mountain West. There aren't many games this year where you would say, man, if UNLV loses this, it's pretty bad. But this would be one of them, right? This, Air Force would be even worse. But San Jose State and Air Force are really the two teams you can't truly lose to. Like Fresno State, it's not good to lose to Fresno State, but Fresno State's not horrible. These two teams are really, really bad. So UNLV should be winning another game in Mountain West play. But we'll see. They can't protect 8 and 15-point leads with 2.5 minutes to go. In hockey, Akira Schmid, Golden Knights goalie, he is playing for Switzerland in the Olympics. And Sinbin.Vegas had a fun story on this. So men in Switzerland have to serve a year in the military before they turn 35. Athletes get a special carve out where they go through like a different type of boot camp, apparently, and they can sort of serve in the off season of their sport in a sort of a different setting than real, genuine military care or service. But one thing that was very interesting is that playing in the Olympics counts towards military service time. Schmid said every time you play for the Swiss national team, that counts towards time spent in the military because you're representing the country. They say you are defending the country in another way. Phenomenal work there. I do wonder, do you still get credit if you sit on the bench for the whole game? Like if Akira Schmid doesn't play, do you get credit for just being there, supporting the team, or if you're a healthy scratch? You'd think so. You still got the jersey on, right? Not if you're a healthy scratch. I don't know. We'll see. But Akira Schmid is racking up military time at the Olympics. Also, we had, does it count as news? We had a report yesterday from Brad Townsend of the Dallas Morning News. He tweeted out, think it's going to be an extra great year for Seattle. I'm hearing NBA Board of Governors likely to vote on expanding by 2 teams this summer, and Las Vegas and Seattle are favored. So this show is called Technically Correct for a very specific reason, because I'm going to be very pedantic here. Brad Townsend's tweet said the Board of Governors are likely to vote on expansion. It didn't say they were likely to vote in favor of expansion, just that they were going to vote on it, meaning they could vote no, right? Like Bill Belichick was likely to get voted on for Pro Football Hall of Fame. He didn't get voted for enough times. Now, he did say it would be an extra great year for Seattle, though, so that's implying that he thinks they will vote yes, or maybe he just worded the rest of the tweet poorly, and it was supposed to say they're going to vote yes on it. But his tweet technically did not say they're going to vote yes. Now, his tweet implies they're going to vote yes. Now, what we know, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, he has said that they are planning to decide on expansion this year, which would mean a vote from the owners on if they want to expand. He's already said that. Now, he did not give a time of year. Brad Townsend reported that it would be in the summer. Makes sense when the offseason is here. I have held the belief that they're not going to expand domestically because they're going to focus on their NBA Europe League and collect money there instead and save expansion in the U.S. for some time in the future. I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope expansion comes. I would love to talk about the NBA and having a team here in Vegas. It would be great. So I hope it happens. Everything Adam Silver has said about it, every time Adam Silver's talked about it, he sort of throws cold water on it and sort of tempers expectations and kills it off. Doesn't mean it's not happening. But every time I feel like he's talked, he's given reasons as to why they wouldn't expand, almost as though he's sort of playing us into, hey, we're not going to do this. And when we officially say we're not going to do this, I'll point back to all the things I've been saying for the last year. Maybe I'll be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're getting a team. There's a lot of questions that we'll get into over the next couple of months. Who's the owner? What arena are they playing in? A lot of things to figure out there. But it's possible that we get announced expansion this summer and that Las Vegas ends up with a team. Also a fun story in Major League Baseball with our soon-to-be Sacramento to Las Vegas A's. The A's kind of sort of stole a player from the Dodgers. So the Dodgers signed Andy Ibanez to a one-year deal worth $1.2 or $3 million in January 13th to be exact. He's a 32-year-old infielder who's been a below-average hitter his entire career, right? The Dodgers signed him on January 13th. They then designated him for assignment, put him on waivers on February 3rd, not even a month after signing him. So he goes on waivers, and according to Bill Plunkett, the Dodgers were hoping that no one would claim him. They were hoping that, hey, he's making $1.2 or $3 million. That's too much money for teams to claim a 32-year-old that plays second base and third base and is not an above-average hitter. And they basically were hoping that they'd get him through waivers because if he clears waivers, then he just comes back to the Dodgers and they get to keep him off the 40-man roster, most likely put him in AAA to start the year, and then call him up at some point when they have injuries and they need an infielder, right? The A's did not let that happen. The A's claimed him off waivers, which means, first off, I think the Dodgers completely screwed Andy Ibanez here, right? This guy, he's a free agent, chose to sign with the Dodgers, who it looks like had no intention of actually keeping him around. It looks like they just wanted to manipulate the 40-man roster rules and keep this guy in the organization by paying him a little bit more than he's probably worth. And now Ibanez is presumably going to have to play for a team that he didn't actually want to play for despite being a free agent a month ago and could have signed with teams that he actually wanted to play for. Anybody can get DFA'd, so it's not like, oh my God, feel bad for Andy Ibanez. It just feels like the Dodgers are trying to skirt the rules, and now Ibanez has to go play for the A's instead of the Dodgers. Now, I actually wouldn't be surprised if the A's end up DFAing Ibanez at some point. Again, he's a 32-year-old infielder who plays second and third, doesn't even play short, second and third, and is a below-average hitter. Most teams in baseball probably have a guy at AAA that can play second and third and hit below average at the major league level. We'll see how long he sticks around with the A's. But the A's also signed Scott Barlow, a reliever. He has a career ERA of 3.4, but the last 2 years his ERA has been over 4.2, hasn't been quite as good. But he might be a late inning reliever for the A's. The A's, they traded away Mason Miller last year, so they don't really have a true closer. They don't really have, at least going into it right now, a known closer. It might be the weakest part of the team, maybe the starting pitching, but this might be the weakest part of the team as well. So what those late innings look like. Scott Barlow might be heavily involved in it. But this has been Bischoff's Briefs, brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. You can host your next birthday party at Battle Blast. Book the party package and you'll get a private party room, dedicated host, pizza, soda, arcade tokens, and of course, laser tag. Plus, you have your kid's birthday party there and you're like, hey, I want to play some laser tag. You can also add a game on for adults or just book it for your own birthday. It's Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue, your next stop for fun in Las Vegas. If you want to sponsor the show, or you just want to get in touch with me, technicallycorrectvegas@gmail.com. That's the email. Also, I have a Patreon where you can subscribe and get some bonus content. Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff on Patreon. I'm under the impression some of you don't know what Patreon is or even how to spell it when I say it. Patreon.com. That's Patreon. It's a site where people who create any type of content post things to people that subscribe to it. So I have bonus content up there. We've got extra videos. Any written stories I've done are up there at Patreon. We got it launched last month. Thankful to everybody that's already signed up for Patreon. So patreon.com/technicallycorrect with Tyler Bischoff. If you want to further support me, that's a good place to do it. Now, fun story in the Mountain West this week. The conference is adding North Dakota State. North Dakota State FCS school. They're making the jump up to the FBS, the highest division of college sports. And there's a few important details to get here. The first one, North Dakota State is likely going to be competitive right away. So a good comparison is that James Madison made the jump from the FCS to the FBS in the Sun Belt. And James Madison was good right away. They went 8-3 in their first season, but James Madison, by their fourth season, was in the college football playoff. They also had Kurt Cignetti as their coach when they first made the jump. But they're probably going to be good right away, similar to James Madison. SP+, that is my favorite efficiency metric in college football. Bill Connolly, who now works at ESPN, created it. He's had it for a long time here. SP+, the best part about it is that Connolly he will rank all of the teams across all divisions of college football. I don't even know what the acronym is for the lowest division, but we're talking like 600 or 700 college football teams. So you can compare FCS schools to FBS schools. You can compare North Dakota State to teams at the highest level. This past season, North Dakota State by SP+ across all levels of college football was the 65th best team. For comparison's sake, Boise State, who won the Mountain West, was 64th. UNLV was 57th. So by SP+, North Dakota State was basically as good as the two teams that played in the Mountain West title game. They were at the FCS level, right? Wouldn't North Dakota State be worse if they were playing an FBS schedule the entire season as opposed to some, in theory, weaker FCS schools? Potentially, right? But they are absolutely going to be a good football program, should be a good football program based on their past. If they come up with just the same exact type of roster, they should be very, very competitive in the Mountain West, which, as like a fan, is a reason to like this. It creates better competition, right? So one, you should get better games. That's good teams making good games, exciting games. And take UNLV, for example, you're trying to make the college football playoff next year. Well, you're going to have to impress the committee more than any other group of 5 team to get into the playoff. Playing better teams is going to make that easier. And you might lose the games, but in theory, the harder your schedule is, the more likely or the more chances you have to impress the committee. So North Dakota State should raise the overall ceiling of the Mountain West, or at least the floor, and that will help teams with any sort of efficiency rankings and all of that just by having a better team in the conference. So there are reasons to like this from a competitive standpoint. Now, one thing that's stupid, and I know this isn't new, and I know I'm not about to give you a new take, but Brett McMurphy tweeted it out. North Dakota State is ineligible for the postseason for the first 2 years that they're at the FBS level, meaning they're going to be in the FBS this upcoming season. They could be the best team in the Mountain West. They could go 12-0. They will not play in the Mountain West championship game, and they will not be eligible for the college football playoff. It is unbelievably stupid that that's the case. I don't understand. There's no real logical reason behind it. Somehow it's to dissuade teams from just always making the jump up, but who cares? If you make the jump up, making the jump down, okay. But the jump up, yeah, if you're good, you're good. Like, it's not going to happen because it's North Dakota State, but they could be the best team in college football and wouldn't be able to play in the college football playoff. It's incredibly stupid, right? So North Dakota State, there's a chance we're looking at the Mountain West standings this year, and it's like, oh, they're 7-1. They might have the best record of the Mountain West. They're not playing in the Mountain West championship game. So that's dumb. But they should be really good. And in theory, after 2 years, year 3, they'll be able to contend and possibly go to a college football playoff, maybe represent the Mountain West in the college football playoff. The other big part of this, it's been reported now by ESPN that North Dakota State is going to pay the Mountain West $12 million as an entry fee. They're going to pay $12 million to just get into the conference, right? They also have to pay the NCAA $5 million. The NCAA has its own entry fee for jumping up to the FBS. So they're going to pay $17 million to play in the Mountain West, which is insane. And 12 of that is going to the Mountain West. This is an incredible deal for the Mountain West. You have added a team that's better than half of your programs, maybe all of your programs, to be honest, and you get 12 million? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy good. Like, yes, teams are going to have to travel to North Dakota. Yes, there's no market size there. They're not really going to increase your television revenue earnings in the future, but you're getting 12 million up front to make your conference more competitive. Great deal by the Mountain West. Like, all on board with that is what you should be doing. So I can't think of a bad reason other than, oh, you've got to fly to North Dakota now every other year, which, whatever, get over yourselves. They're only joining as a football member. So yes, your football team every other year has to fly to North Dakota. Yeah, you'll be fine. Also, interestingly, the Mountain West had already put out, not technically the schedule because there were no dates, but the Mountain West had put out, hey, these are all the opponents each team in the Mountain West will be playing this year. They're going to have to change that because now there's a whole new team in, and they've got to redo the conference schedule. Also, it was going to be a true round robin. There were going to be 9 Mountain West teams, and everybody would play everybody. Now everybody will miss one opponent. So it's not too bad. It's not nearly as bad as what the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 are doing right now. But having a true round robin, always kind of fun. And last thing on this. It's very, very funny. We had a report from Yahoo. Sacramento State was trying to do the same exact thing. Sacramento State, according to Ross Dellinger, has been trying to buy their way into a conference. They're also in the FCS, and they want to jump up to the FBS level really, really badly. They apparently offered $10 million as an entry fee to the Mountain West and to the Pac-12, and both conferences said no. Apparently, the MAC is interested. So Sacramento State might be joining the Mid-American Conference. Makes sense of that for you. But this is the program that, last year, 2 years ago, said that they have $50 million in NIL money to spend. And then if you actually read their release, it was, well, it's $50 million over 10 years if we make the jump up to the FBS level. That's not $50 million in NIL money, right? Like that's not $50 million in NIL money. And now you can't even pay $50 million in NIL money. That's got to all be revenue sharing money anyways. They also hired Brendan Marion. He lied about NIL money too, only for him to then leave Sacramento State after one season to take an offensive coordinator job at Colorado. So anything bad that happens to Sacramento State just seems to be funny, given how much they seem to push the truth when talking about NIL money, which again is why Brendan Marion was such a natural fit for them for one season. But this is it for Technically Correct. I'm Tyler Bischoff. Thanks for tuning in.